So now that we've drawn out the subnets line, we're going to draw our host line. So that's going to be underneath the subnets line, and we're going to have to reverse the order on that one. So that's going to start with the number 2, and that's going to be underneath the magic number of 128. So the host line, you have to label that on your chart. You've got to label host -2, of course, because, for example, let's say that, and you'll see this in a minute, let's say, for example, we draw a line right here. Everything's going to go to the left of our line except for hosts. Host goes to the right of our line. But if host here says 16, that actually is going to be 14 hosts, because the first host is going to refer to the network, and the last host is going to refer to the broadcast address. So that's very important. So it's the number -2 indicates usable hosts, whereas the full number indicates total hosts, including the network and broadcast. So what I like to do is underneath the host line, go ahead and write out your CIDR notation. And that's just a helpful reference, because you have some subnetting questions that give you a CIDR number, and when you have it written out there, then you immediately know where you're going to jump to just by having the CIDR written out. Now remember that we're not using slash. Okay, let me ask you it this way: why do we start out with /25 right here instead of /24? Again, this is the 4th octet, because we're doing Class C subnet.
Right. Yeah, your question is why?
Why does this start out with /25 instead of /24 right here?
Because,
Use for something.
right, because 24 is actually on the Class B.
24/24 means that all of these bits
Or took up.
are turned off,
Right,
and those are used for host addresses.
right.
So we have 254 host addresses in that case, which would be 256 -2, the 2 being the network and the broadcast address. So essentially, if we're borrowing 1, then we're already at a /25, because this would indicate that we now have broken it down into 2 subnets. We now have because we go to the right on host. We now have 126 hosts per subnet, because we're dividing, the whole block into 2, and we have a /25, and our magic number up here, and I haven't written it up above yet, but our subnet mask would be 255.255.255.128. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to do is to write the subnet values up at the top. This makes it really easy, because this way you know what your subnet mask value is without having to do any addition. So if we start out with 128 here, you don't have to put anything else up on top of that, because that is our subnet mask value. So with each one, you'll take the previous value and add it to that one. So 128 plus 64 equals 192.
Right.
192 plus 32 equals 224. 224 plus 16 equals 240. 240 plus 8 equals 248, and so forth, until we get to 255, at which point we would be using a broadcast. That would be a broadcast address. They were all filled up. That would mean we're all ones on the entire 4 octets. So now the chart is complete at this point. So the last step is knowing how to use this chart. And this makes it subnetting super simple. If you just memorize these steps, and remember, this works for Class B, this works for Class C, it even works for Class A, but it's just a kind of a pain to draw out on Class
Right.
A. But I'll show you how it works here on Class C. So you must memorize this process. If you want to use this method, you must memorize the process for creating this chart. And really, it's just simply start with the dots, do your binary. You start out with 2 underneath the 128 for subnets, go that way, and then start out with 2 for host -2, and then go the opposite way, and then write out your CIDR starting with 25, and then complete it with your subnet mask values on top. Okay, so let's say we're given, and this is what I mentioned by, okay, that default network ID is important. So let's say we're given a network ID of 192.168.1.0/24. So what do we do with that? We're tasked with subnetting it into 12 networks or 12 subnets. So we need 12 subnetworks, and at the moment, with our default mask, how many networks do we have?
With your what?
With our default mask that's given, how many networks do we have at the moment?
You have
Kind of a trick question, just not zero.
yeah, 128.
No,
One?
we have just one network.
Oh, one.
All the
network,
hosts
okay.
are on the same network.
Oh,
right?
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. Because this is a network ID, and
Right,
it's a /24,
No, one.
right.
so
So in
We
order
have
for
already
it to
bits.
go out and have other, hosts, then we need to convert that so that it can.
we need to create a custom mask here.
Right.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw out our chart. And so we've drawn out the chart. So we know that we need 12 networks, right?
Right.
Do we see the number 12 on the subnets column?
No.
We need at least 12 networks. 8 networks is not gonna work.
No.
60.
So we're gonna have to use 16 networks. So the line is always going to be to the right of the networks.
Right,
It's gonna be right of everything
right.
on this whole chart except hosts. It's gonna be left of hosts. So we're gonna draw our line out right here. This is where our line's gonna be. So, there's no, actually, I meant to say that we needed 13 subnets. I think I just messed that up on the 2 slides, but I said 12, same thing applies. We still would have to draw in the same place. So regardless whether you need 12 or 13 subnets, the line goes right here.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Like in the exam, they're gonna ask for subnets, or like they will give us.
They're gonna ask for a variety of things. So we're gonna do practice
Oh.
problems, and tomorrow morning, we're gonna do more practice problems where we're using this, and so you can actually get comfortable with it. So, as I mentioned, you can draw little arrows, kind of like I did here, but you shouldn't need to do that once you know this process, because you know that once you draw that line, everything to the left of the line is what applies, except for the host -2 column. That arrow goes to the right. So now we pretty much know everything about how we're gonna subnet this network. Just from the information about, they said, we need 13 subnets. We drew our line out because this was the place that we're gonna get 13 subnets,
Right.
while still giving us the most possible number of hosts per subnet. So we already know that our subnet mask is what?
240.240.
Right, 255.255.255.240. We know that our magic number is
16.
16. We know that we have how many subnets? 16. It's just coincidental that's the same as the magic number. It usually won't be. We know that we have how many usable hosts?
14.
14 usable hosts, because that's 16 minus 2. And our CIDR mask is
28.
/28.
28.
So now we already know all this information. So like, let's say that, all you had to do was draw a line. That's it. And now you know everything about the subnet. So you just eliminated a massive amount of work by doing that. So more than likely, you probably can answer whatever question that they're asking you on the Network Plus
Oh, man.
just by drawing that line.
That chart right there.
Just by drawing that one line. Now, maybe not. You may have to do another step, or they may ask you for a little more information or something. But usually, this gives you a lot of information.
Like if they ask you to which or to what subnetwork, does this address belong to?
Oh, yeah.
Then you
So,
have to subnet it down.
where we really haven't gone here yet is we haven't gone into using our magic number. So all we know, Maria, question?
Oh, just this table will give you the target and the block number?
Yeah, it gives us the block number.
Yeah.
Block number is 16.
He's going back.
That's the magic number.
Yeah, they call it different things, yeah.
Yeah.
Magic number.
Yeah, so, now, the nice thing here is that, okay, so, in my class, I gave y'all some shortcuts for saying, okay, like, for example, if we have 16 subnets, what's the broadcast address for my 13th subnet? All right, so you think, all right, now that's, I don't know that information yet. And some people are gonna say, I'm gonna have to draw out my network IDs for all 16 subnets. I'm gonna have to draw out my usable host range. I'm gonna have to draw out my broadcast address for each one. But no, there's shortcuts to that. You don't have to. You can find it real quick. So we know that, so look at your chart
Also, it's multiplying
and
Minus
find
58.
your magic
one number less.
number.
Minus one. Yeah, or networks minus one.
Multiply your magic number. In this case, magic number is gonna be
4.
4. Multiply your magic number
By the number of subnets minus one.
by,
The number of subnets minus one?
by network ID
Minus one,
of subnet you're trying to find,
Minus one.
okay.
find -1.
Okay, so. I failed the test, I'm not ready for.
Okay, so we're trying to find the 59 subnets range, right? So
Right.
we take 50 what?
58.
58 times what?
4.
58 times 4.
232.
Okay, so 232 is going to be the network ID of our 59 subnet. So what we can see here is if we have, what was it? What was the number?
232.
232. So network ID is gonna be .232, and our subnet mask is gonna be .252, and or /30. Our broadcast ID, all we have to do,
At 4.
yeah, so 232. Well, if we add
Add
4 to
three.
232.
That'll be our
Add
next,
three.
that'll be our next network
If
ID.
we add, so we could say 232 plus 4,
Equals
236
236.
is here, so the
So
That
broadcast
gives us
ID is
everything.
Minus one.
35.
235.
Yeah.
Number of usable hosts, we just look at our chart,
2.
and we've got 4 minus 2, so that's 2. Our host ID range is .233 to .234.
4.
So that's all you have to do. And that should take you definitely less than a minute.
Yeah.
To figure that out.
Is that a realistic question? To find
Yeah.
the network
I mean,
ID for the 58
I didn't see
subnet?
anything like that, but if you
Okay.
know how to do that, then it makes, I mean, you can,
Okay.
you can find anything really fast. Because, I mean, the most complex it's gonna get is, you know, looking at broadcast IDs, network IDs, and hosted
Okay.
ranges. And if you understand this kind of trick, you know, just to find that, but just have to understand that you're just looking for the network ID of the given subnet. Take that -1 times your magic number.
I'm not ready for the test yet, sir.
That's okay, we'll do more review in the morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I know we did this, Angel and David, I know we did this in class,
Yeah,
right?
we did, yeah. Yeah, I had everything right except for subtracting 1 from the.
Yeah, me too, yeah. Except for that, subtracting one.
Yeah, so yeah, I wasn't counting 0 network.
Yeah.
No.
I've been on medication since then.
Oh.
I forgot.
It's Maria's fault. That's a real good shortcut, actually. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you. You don't have to write down, you don't have to subnet 59, subnet.
Exactly.
I'll take it forever.
I need to show you something.
I think Virginia's ready with that already.